Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to AFC Newsday. It's great to be back here again. I will let everyone know early on that I've been having some power cuts here in the last few minutes, so tonight could be a record short stream, which some of you might be hoping for. But hopefully that won't happen tonight. I hope everyone's well that's tuning in. We're back again for another stream. We've got lots to talk about. International break, not much going on, but we thought we'd reflect on a few things. Look forward to what's to come after the international break. Matt's here. Matt, welcome. I say him welcome. I saw you last week. How's things going? All good?
Yeah, very well, thank you. I mean, I was not well at all over the weekend, but better now, so
Oh,
can't
mate.
complain
Sorry.
there. It's what it is. Everyone seems to be getting something at the minute, so there's
Yeah.
that. But yeah, was a pleasure. Obviously, I'm sure we'll delve into it, but was a pleasure being with you the last few games, and yeah, great to be back on AFC Newsday with you
100%,
and someone
mate.
else.
Yeah, someone else. We'll introduce that someone else very shortly. But I mean, just to let everyone know, we went to the Brentford and the Porto game together, which we will look back into. But myself and Matt were playing a game, a very intense and adrenaline-filled game of basically. We were very fortunate enough where there was a spare seat next to us for the Brentford and the Porto game. So we're just like, after a while, that clearly no one was coming to sit in the seat. It was like, it should be clear. So you come sit in it, and then everyone that walks up, you're like, "Is this your seat?" No, no, no. And we somehow got away with it for both of them when we weren't taking up anyone's seat, which was cool.
Brentford was unbelievable though, because Porto, by half time it was like, okay, there's a seat here. I'll be like, okay,
Yeah,
cool, I'm in the
yeah,
clear. But Brentford, it was first 20 minutes. It was like an extreme sport because Dan
it
came
was.
for more or less off, and it was like, oh, if anyone comes, you'll go.
If anyone comes up,
But
move, no problem. But yeah, no, mate, it was incredible. Honestly, it was incredible. Let's welcome another person to the stream. He's our most frequent recurring guest, and it's for a reason because he is a legend, and that's Yembele. Yembele, you're everywhere, and we love you for it. How are you? Well,
a legend. I don't know about that.
you are a legend. You're a legend on the
come on,
podcast.
you are.
I appreciate it, guys. No, I'm very happy to be on here. No, it's always good to chat to you. It's even better to try and get over the misery that is International Week, and it's so and obviously watch it. I might watch the England game. I say I may watch the England game just because there's nothing else at the moment.
Do you know what? I will counter you because I think this is quite exciting. I mean, I get that there's a run in and stuff to come, but England versus Brazil at a sold out Wembley, I'm pretty pumped up for. Like, it's something different. It's something to get you excited. Are you much of a Euro, fan of the Euros and the World Cup, or are you just purely Arsenal?
I watch it. The reason I'm not particularly keen right now is I'm just worried about injuries. Purely, I'm being selfish at the moment because of the title, the run in, everything else. When it's a summer and it's a tournament, I'm there. I'm fine. But my anxiety is about my team and the injuries and not having to see Saka literally hobble off because Gareth Southgate has to overplay him because he can't rely on anyone else. It's just my anxiety. I don't know about you guys, but I'm just purely anxious about a clean bill of health, especially now given the game that's coming up after the break.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, Saka started off with some like little individual training, hasn't he? So, I don't know what's going on there. If that's just hopefully there's no kind of knock or anything.
Well, considering that our opponent is, their players are getting injured. I've never seen a worse, play acting of injury. Did you see the Erling Haaland video?
Yeah.
Where was the injury? Tell me where was the injury? Tell me when the injury occurred, because all I saw was him just walking grumpily along. Oh, boss, look. Oh, it's really hurting right now, and I can't move. I have to go. Honestly,
yeah.
I think the laughable part is like, obviously for like fans, international break could be an absolute snore, but for players, representing your country is one of the biggest things they want to do. So when you put that in with a lot of games, and you have players almost faking injuries to go back to camp or get that extra few weeks off to make sure they're fit for the run-in, it almost defeats the point and the novelty of playing for your country. And
but
a bit of a weird
one. I think it's just they're overplayed, aren't they, in club and in country? Some of these games are pointless. The Premier League fixture, obviously the fixture list is very congested, and we've kind of got lucky this year, to be honest. Now, but obviously after this period, we're going to be hitting a really busy period of fixtures. All our ones are compressed together because of various scheduling issues. But yeah, I'm just all I'm hoping for purely, guys, is just a clean bill of health after this. That we don't, obviously Gabrielle is back with us, and I just it's the England one. Do you know what? It's the two England boys I'm really scared about, honestly, because they're both key players. I can't see Gareth Southgate dropping Declan and Saka and not playing them. Declan may play both games. That's how bad it is.
I think Rice is more likely to play both than Saka, personally. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's stressful, but I'm looking forward to it. I do kind of wish I had tickets, to be honest. Brazil at Wembley. I hope that Vinicius Jr. enjoys his stay at the Sober Reality Training Centre, and all the staff are like, and an extended tour for you. Come see. This could be your home one day. Whoever knows? I mean, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Shout out to Guna Jake in the chat. There's 320 of you watching at the moment. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate your support. If you're not following us already, please do follow us on Twitter, X, AFC Newsday, or come over to YouTube, AFC Newsday. All the support is much appreciated. So thanks for tuning in. Guys, let's talk Arsenal. Let's talk football. Arsenal versus Porto. The game that had a lot of drama. Yen wasn't there. Matt was there for all of it, and I was only there for part of it. Because unfortunately, I had to rush off after full time of extra time. Call me plastic, call me whatever you want. Call me plastic, call me whatever you want. But I had to rush off.
You're an unfortunate guy more than anything like that.
No, you would have stayed. I know you would have stayed if you could have. You would have stayed.
It's 100%. But basically, I was pushed for time because I was hoping Arsenal could get it done in 90 or just inside extra time. But it went to penalties, and unfortunately, I had you can't risk these queues at Arsenal Tube Station. You've got to dash back, and I just about made it in time for my train, but I missed the penalties. But someone somehow had signal on the underground. And someone had a stream of it and was watching the penalties, and there's a video on my Twitter, but everyone just went a bit mental basically when I don't know what happened at the moment, but obviously it was Raya saving the final penalty. But incredible moment. But Arsenal versus Porto, a game which you'll look back on for positive reasons for the penalty shootout. But Matt, let's come to you first. What did you make of the game overall? I know what you thought because I sat next to you, but what did you make of the game overall?
A lot of mixed opinions. I think Porto was kind of a tie. I feel like there was a lot, for me personally, I had a lot of uncertainty about. I didn't know how it would go in terms of, will we steamroll them? How do Arsenal do back in the Champions League, back in the knockout stages, where they're expected to win comfortably? How does that pressure translate? How do we do from adversity? Conceding that final, that 94th minute wonder strike, which changes the complexion. I think playing at home in that second leg just didn't really suit us with having to chase the game. We couldn't play with freedom. And it felt like, particularly that first half, Porto did a brilliant job, but I also felt like we were playing on a bit of a leash. We were quite scared to overcommit or do too much. And I thought that improved at the start of the second half. But then with, the Arteta's lack of subs, I think it was demonstrated quite how scared we were in terms of losing that tie and making big decisions. And I wasn't happy with the performance at all. I wasn't happy with the fact we didn't make any subs either. I think, 120 minutes of football is the time to flex your muscles. And we do have a very, very good squad of players. And if we can't trust the guys on the bench, then they probably shouldn't be there, I'm afraid. We need players who will be there to support us in all competitions at any moment, players you can count on. Obviously, quite a few players coming back from injury as well. So not the most ideal timing there, but hopefully they'll be key parts of our next tie and the rest of the run-in going forward. But I wasn't too happy with what I saw, but ultimately Porto deserve a lot of credit for how they played against us. They made it incredibly difficult. We've watched this Arsenal side beat City narrowly, even when we weren't at our best. Beat Liverpool convincingly, maybe not as convincing on score, obviously 2 goals, still convincing, but really just do what I've not really seen teams do to Liverpool, and go to Anfield, get a point, and win so many other games. Get the away goal record with 5-6-0s, and Porto with a team who have caused us the most problems home and away by an absolute distance. So I think it's important to not get carried away. You know, we've got through, which it's a mental block, which is massive. And only, you know, time knows and experience knows how important that mental block was for us overcoming, you know, Champions League and getting further into the competition. But, you know, just enjoy that next round. For me, you know, I'm very excited for it. And I do fancy our chances a lot more than I did against Porto. I know that might sound a bit strange, but it's just a bit of an unknown quantity, Porto were. And we've managed to get through, whatever matter. Wasn't the best performance, but Porto deserve a huge amount of credit. And I'd be intrigued to hear your guys' perspective.
100%. It was an interesting game. I think you were getting very frustrated a lot of the time at the referee in the Brentford game and the Porto game, which
You
was
know
quite
what?
entertaining to
I
see.
think we kind of switch roles a bit. I think I was getting far angry. The Brentford game, I was getting livid. The
Me,
Porto game, I think you were getting angrier than me. Yeah,
me,
yeah,
damn.
yeah.
I don't get angry at football. I remain calm
No,
and
you weren't like
impartial and
you weren't like you were just, you know, a bit more than me, I think, because I
a
when you
little
know when
bit.
you have a game where you just
No, because I
expect.
was frustrated. No, the reason I was frustrated and angrier was because I was like, "Come on, I need to get my train home." That was the reason why. Shout out to all nearly 600 of you tuned in. Really appreciate you being there. Shout out to Malik who's watching along. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you are watching for the first time, please do drop us a follow on AFC Newsday or YouTube. On that Porto game. My personal frustration's a little bit with Mikel Arteta, and there's not much that you can criticise him on. In my opinion, there's not much to criticise, but I feel sometimes he can be a little bit kind of. He could be more proactive with his substitutions, in my opinion, a little bit. And listen, I'm no football manager, but that's just for me as a football fan feeling sometimes you could be making changes to you know, aid the team in the game. Did you feel in the Porto game that, you know, changes could have been made sooner? Because he only made one inside, 90 minutes, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really hard one in hindsight because obviously knowing what we know now and that we went to extra time, the extra legs in the extra time probably helped in terms of substitutions. Can he be more proactive? I certainly do agree. I think he can be. I think his worry is, especially in Europe, that he's worried about conceding because, especially at Porto, if they concede, you know, if we concede against a Porto, a second goal against Porto, I think they would have shut up shop and that would have been it. I think he's worried about just not being. He wants to be defensively solid. We do play different in Europe. I think everyone notices that we're not the same team, and I think that's by design because he's worried about. In Europe, teams are more. They are. It's a bet. You know, it's a much higher echelon. We love the Premier League and we love the competitiveness, but the technical level in the Champions League is night and day. You know, even if you look at Porto, Porto's level was superb. You know, Pepe. You look at Pepe. Both Pepes actually. Pepe, the
Couldn't
defender,
believe what I was
was
watching from him.
yeah. Both of them. You know what? The Pepe. You know, Pepe in the midfield was really good. I like. Look, Porto came with a game plan, and we know what the game plan is. They were going to low block us and play a very safe approach because they had a one goal lead. If you're on the other side, you would absolutely do that. You're going up against one of the heavily betted favourites. I wouldn't say we're favourites on form because I don't think that's justified at the moment. I think I find it very surprising. I don't know if you guys do that we are fourth in the betting list, which is really odd. Because I think we've not got the experience, and we're new to the Champions League, and you need experience. I think I cannot remember a team who's newly entered the Champions League who have won it in their first campaign. I don't think that's ever happened. I think you need experience, you need to be savvy, and it showed in the Porto game. Porto are a savvy team. You hate them, and I know you guys, you know, as you were saying, it was annoying, but you have to respect what they were doing. They were. You know, if you were on their side, you'll be like, this is amazing. This is great. You're playing against one of the best teams, you know, supposedly in Europe, and you're holding them. But Mikel can make substitutions more practical. I do agree with you, Dan. But I respect that he is still a new coach learning about the most elite level of football and, you know, trying to ensure that he is pragmatic enough that we are in the game. 1-0, you know, we had a 1-0 deficit and he wanted to make sure we were solid and we weren't going to be beaten so that we can score a goal. Are we at our flying best? Definitely not. But I think in further games, we may see us just open up a bit more as Mikel figures out if we're going to be able to play our preferred way, which is obviously play this high line and to suffocate teams. I think against Porto, I think he's just worried about the technical level because it is far and away different from the Premier League, apart from the top 6, effectively.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point. And I know Rohan, shout out to Rohan, RJ Arsenal blog, made a really good point, the same sort of point that, this is completely new territory for Mikel Arteta. He's learning, he has been learning on the job, and it's, the next element to his learning. So, it's a really, really interesting point you make there. And Bayern Munich, Arsenal will face Bayern Munich in the next round. Matt, ballot entry, sent in, you sent the ballot entry in?
I think everyone on planet Earth has, to be honest. Every other game is like,
I shouldn't have said it because now I've told all these people that they should do it.
But there's extra tickets. The beauty is there's extra tickets, obviously, which is, good news for our ballot holders because, the ballot people in the ballot, because at least there's more chance now. And I don't know if you guys saw the tweet today. I don't know if it's actually true or not. And again, this is unverified. Apparently, Arsenal are very, very, very stressful about making sure that Bayern fans do not attend in any capacity. I.e., they don't get, those kind of,
I think the statement said that if a Bayern fan is found in possession of someone's season ticket seat, then whoever the season ticket holder is can get that. Will just be completely stripped.
I agree with that because the fact is this is a rare event for Arsenal. We are going to have a stadium completely full up with home fans. And I like what the club are doing. They want to make it a crackling atmosphere. They want to make it something different. They want a cauldron, and I like that. I like that the club are actually active now this season in making sure that we are G'd up for that. Do you remember before the Porto game, they've sent out a video montage as well? The Arsenal of old would never have done that. They would have been like, well, we're going into the Porto game. It's all very nice. And it would be very quiet up until then. But I like this. The social media team are on it. On the match.
Tell you what, not just while you mentioned the social media side of things, I love what they're doing with like contract announcements and stuff. I don't care the piss it boils Twitter wise, but I think even the Tomiyasu one today, I think different one to the Ben White one, which for some reason
I like that. If it's the same template, you'd get bored, wouldn't you? Can you imagine if it's the same kind of template? I like that it's showing a bit of creativity from our social media team that they're saying, I'll do something different, because Tommy's one was actually very akin to him. He's, by all accounts, a very focused, very disciplined person. The Japanese mentality, and it felt like that with him. It wasn't showy. Ben White's one was more feel good because you want people to understand what Ben White is. He's not just a very blasé, dry character. He's actually, someone that his teammates actually like. And obviously, now we know that it's due to obviously some interesting comments from the England manager about him, but I like the way that they're doing it. And obviously, Dan will talk about England and White, etc. But I like it. I like what social media do. I like what our social media. I like the stadium atmosphere. The whole wrestling music at halftime. I just like the experience now. It feels like we're getting an identity in our team. North London forever. I know some people don't like it, but it creates an identity for Arsenal. And I like it. I like going to the stadium, getting ready for all of this stuff. Start of second half, there's a bit of music going that, for me personally, I like, because I am still a wrestling fan and I like that kind of stuff. And it's that, it's just that atmosphere, and it gets you, it makes you more involved and more, interested in what the team is doing.
I think it's great as well from just the content creation perspective. Like, I almost think Arsenal are tapping into a market which is such a good thing to tap into, and I think other clubs will follow in terms of doing sentimental videos and making big videos out of contract announcements and such, but not in like a meme based way, but in one which relates to the fans effectively, and one which is pretty sentimental. And as a fan of that club, you can't do anything but see it and be like, I really like what the club's doing, unless if you're very miserable. But yeah.
If anyone did not like the Ben White one, then you've got no heart at all, and you've got a heart of stone, because that one just brought the feels.
100%, yeah, no, and it's great to see. I think very timely with the announcement that England, Gareth Southgate made. We will talk about it, but Matt, I do just want to get your opinions on the Bayern Munich draw. Shout out to nearly 900 of you tuned in. Great to see so many people tuned in tonight. Really appreciate your support. Matt, Bayern Munich in the next round. When the draw came out, it was announced. What was the immediate feeling in your, inside of you, and what have you gone on to feel about it all now?
I will take that, to be honest. The part which I really dislike is not only our semi-final, potential semi-final, but also the second leg being at home the first leg being at home and the second leg being away. I think that suits us quite well against Bayern, because I think we saw how we played at home against Porto when it was all on us. We didn't have that ability to kind of sit there and play our type of stuff. Even if we played differently in the Champions League, we couldn't really afford to be expansive. Obviously, Porto incredibly well set up, but I think we played with quite a big element of nerve in that home game. Whereas this time around, I think for a quarter-final tie, it suits us to be like, okay, we've got past Porto, we've got that momentum. We can go play Bayern Munich at home. Might have a few injuries. If they do, they don't. That's football. But, we can go play Bayern Munich at home, play a side who aren't going to be even a quarter as defensively resilient, a side which will bring a lot of excitement, to neutrals and the general game. Arsenal Bayern's a massive game, which UEFA don't fail to keep reminding us every time we're in the competition. But I'm very excited, and I do fancy our chances. You look at the sides left in the Champions League; they're all massive names, whether you like it or not. You're not, the Champions League isn't a tournament where you almost fray away from playing the best. Obviously, you don't exactly want a City, Real Madrid, and a Bayern to get to the final, but you've got to do it. That's how the Champions League is, and I think it's funny or interesting to mention our run to the Champions League final, or potential run to the Champions League final, is pretty much identical to what City's was last year, having that Bayern in the quarterfinals, home first as well. They had Real Madrid in the semi-finals, and then they had a bit more of an underdog type side in Inter. And it's just interesting. But in general, I do quite fancy our chances. I'm not upset at the draw. The semi-final was as bad as it could have been. But, very exciting and amazing to be, competing like that. And we'll see. Should be a great time.
Should be a cracker. And Harry Kane and Eric Dyer will be back in North London. I'm sure they'll get an absolutely wonderful reception from the Arsenal fans. All 60,000 of them inside the stadium. Really looking forward to it. Rohan's in the chat. Love you, Rohan. What a guy. If you haven't already, there's nearly 1,000 of you in here. Rohan has written an article for Gunners Town.
Very good article.
Really, really nice article. I'm just focusing on out of possession Arsenal this season. So, make sure to check out Rohan at RJ's Arsenal blog. RJ's or RJ Arsenal blog, one of the two. He's not shadow banned anymore, so you can find him. Make sure to check that one out. Lads, aside from, so we've moved on to spoken about Porto. We've spoken about Arsenal's Champions League draw. Let's talk about a couple of important contract extensions which had come out this week. I think we knew about them for a while. It was very widely reported that Arsenal were close to, or basically these deals were near enough done. And those are Takehiro Tomiyasu and Ben White. Yem, I'll come to you first on this one. First of all, how important a piece of business do you see it being? And based off when Arsenal signed them to now, how do you see their journey, and how impressed with their journey are you? As we hit 1,000 people watching, wow.
Amazing.
How impressed are you with their journey so far? Just sum up some of the main emotions for you from that.
So, as a piece of business, I think it's very good. I think we're very, very good. Arsenal are much better now at being proactive in contract negotiations. We don't have that kind of silliness where we're going into the last year and we're hoping that they sign and then all of a sudden they leave, which was so ridiculous. I couldn't believe it, because you're not only just risking losing a good player, but you're risking getting nothing effectively, which we did. We lost so much money through bad negotiations. So I'm quite happy that Richard Garlick and etc. Edu are proactive in negotiating contracts. I'll cover Tommy first, because Ben White's is much bigger to me. Tomiyasu's one is an interesting one, because obviously it's a slightly shorter deal from Ben White, and I think that's not a bad shout considering his injury record. He is a very, very good player. I don't think anyone doubts that. I think when he's fit and he's playing, He's very, very good. The problem is he is not available enough. And as we talk about with Declan Rice, your availability is your biggest strength. Because Declan Rice is available, he can influence games, and he's more a factor. Tomiyasu is not available enough. And that's my only biggest worry. And I think everyone echoes that worry. He's not around enough. This season, he's had I think a handful of appearances. It's not good enough. You can't have a player who is so susceptible to injuries, whatever they are, soft tissue, etc. So I'm all for it. I think it's also to protect his value in the transfer market. Let's be very honest. But he is a very, very good player. He's so, he's so versatile, so disciplined, plays the left back role really well, plays centre back. Wherever you put him, he gives 100%. And he's always, one of these, very awkward defenders to get past. I think he's very rarely, dribbled past. Excellent movement, very good ball playing. Not sure about his ability to invert, but again, that's because of his lack of availability. So Tomiyasu's one, I think, was a prudent piece of business to protect value and to hopefully see more of him. I don't know if, Matt, you want to chime in on that one, then we can talk about Ben White, because I feel Ben White's one needs just a bit more attention for me personally.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think with Tommy, it's an interesting one. I think, as you say, availability is massive. I think he had that long injury last season, and once he come back, you were kind of hoping that was, that would be kind of it for injuries, or not even. I can't remember exactly when it was. It might have been the year before that, but he was out for quite a few months and then came back and was fine for quite a while again, and then got an injury afterwards. So you hope that that's it for injuries, but unfortunately, it's not been for him. And when he comes back from the Asian Cup, I believe, with Japan playing 90 minutes every game, and all of a sudden you can't see him for 3-4 weeks, that doesn't exactly help the case. But as you say, really, really good player, very versatile. I think probably if we do sign a fullback this summer, or with Yuri and Timber back, with the personnel we have, I think he could also cover as a centre back, which is very useful, and hopefully then his dependency injury wise gets less, and hopefully he can become more reliable. And at the end of the day, the contract length is ideal, because it's serious to not be like, okay, we're not just going to give you a 5-year contract. We're going to give you a few-year contract with the option to extend, so we can protect your value. We've shown loyalty and faith in you that even though you are getting injuries, if you do get back to your best without any injuries, you will sign on for a club which is absolutely thriving at the minute. But you're also not being stupid and committing too much money or too many resources long term. So I think it's a perfect deal for club and player. And it's a case of, Tommy, you've got to prove your fitness. As you say, the best quality is availability. So big deal for the club and the player, and mainly the manner of it, which I think, as you say, Arsenal have been a lot more proactive with contract renewals. And I think the specific terms of that contract renewal is really, really important in this case.
And, I think it's great to also reflect on the journey that Tomiyasu's been on since he's come to Arsenal. You look back at when Arsenal signed him, and a certain reporter who, there's no need to throw his name up there, but a certain reporter saying, I've spoken to his agent. We don't know if he's a midfielder, a centre-back, a wing-back.
Do you remember even before that, he was linked when he was at Bologna with Tottenham, and they nearly signed him, didn't they? And I was like, who's this guy? And then all of a sudden we got linked, and I was like, do we really want him? Because he was linked to Tottenham. But I was like, I'm not too sure about this. Then we obviously signed him last minute, literally. It was the very last minute. It was pretty much the last couple of hours, wasn't it? And then he was doing his medical over in Italy, and then came over, and we were like, what? Signed him for 15 million. And then obviously Carve's, the Sky reporter Carve gave his little speech.
You didn't have to say the name, man. We're trying to keep it.
That was pure hatred, though. Like, let's just come out of that with what? Like, no, not undermining anyone's anything, but like, he said something which proved to not even be like 10% true, and just said it on the spot for no other seeming reason than Arsenal are down in the dumps. Arsenal are struggling, they've just finished 8th, and people are mocking their transfer window, whatever. Let me jump in. It's unbelievable.
The fact is, do you know what the fact is? Is that, I'll be very honest now. I think, modern sports day news programs are struggling, obviously, with the pace of social media and to find out, data, etc. Tomiyasu was a complete unknown, I think, for them at that point. What was he, etc. But I think, and we all know this now, Arteta's ID is much better than that. This wasn't a mistake in terms of they didn't rush the signing of him. They had him on the list, and they thought, look, we'll try for some other signings, but he's available and he wants to join us. The fact is that he did it quite quickly. The deal was done pretty quickly, and so when it did come along, he was an unknown to us, but obviously he proved himself. And to your point, Dan, his journey has been one of he's had to prove himself to the Arsenal fans. But the way he's done it is through really good performances. I think everyone, like I just said, everyone's just disappointed he's not available, because the perfect example is the Sporting Lisbon game last year. Do you remember? Both him and William Saliba went down in the same game. Let's be honest, he is not William Saliba's level. But if he had been fit and Saliba got injured, I would have been okay, because he's still a level above Rob Holding, with all due respect to Rob Holding, who was a fantastic servant to the club. So I would have been comfortable. But both of them going down at the same time really did affect the run-in. And that's how good he was at that point.
Steady on mentioning Rob Holding's name whilst Rohan's watching, by the way. I don't want to cause him any distress.
Rod,
no, of course.
His voice note is a legend on Twitter.
There's been a few. But sorry for digging you out, Rohan. He has put a question in there, but we will answer that in. Yeah.
There you go.
There he is.
If I speak. Rohan, we will answer your question in a second. I did want to talk about, obviously, we just said Tomiyasu extending his contract. Just to say, by the way, stick around, everyone. We will be playing a game of blind ranking in a second, where I'm going to get the two guys to rank players on a certain subject, and you're not going to know which one's next, and you're going to rank them, and then you could throw in a little.
I hate these things.
Dan threw one at me before. I didn't do too bad on that occasion. So
yeah,
when you do those team ones, and you end up with Spurs, and the only one is number one. You're like, oh.
But let's talk about the Ben White extension as well. Also, just on the Tomiyasu thing as well. Interesting how Emerson Royale was also available at the same time, and I'm so glad Arsenal signed Tomiyasu instead of Emerson Royale, because that could have been interesting, if to say the least.
Interesting. God, that's a Staffy level. Mistake coming in.
Yeah, and I remember saying, "Oh, he's from Barcelona. He must be good." That turned out interestingly. Ben White signing his new contract. First of all, regardless of the England stuff, Ben White signing a new contract. How good is that for Arsenal?
That's exceptional news, because Ben White came in as this 50 million unknown. We knew what he was, but we didn't know how good he was. First season, played as centre back, did really well. Then got shifted to right back to accommodate William Saliba, and made the position his own. You can't speak highly enough of the mentality of a Ben White for your team, because what people, I think, know, and Arsenal fans certainly know, the guy is a warrior. He wants to be the best. The line we've heard from a lot of Arsenal fans, and I was watching a couple of videos today talking about how he is a warrior. He doesn't give up for the team. The story about him at the Newcastle game last year. He had a pretty bad hamstring injury, and he was playing with a torn hamstring because he didn't want to miss a game. He very rarely misses games. Again, his availability is a key factor of him. He gives his best. We know he's been playing with injuries for part of the season. He looks like he's back to his best now, because his fitness, he looks a completely different player to the one that started the season, and we know why, because he was carrying an injury. But Ben White is such a professional, for me personally, I like Ben White for Arsenal, because he's also, and we all know this, is a shithouser as well. He's the shithouser of the team, because on corners, you can see he loves them.
As Jake says. As Jake says.
Love it. Do you know what? You hate those kind of players on the other side, but when it's your guy doing it, and he's the whole thing.
There's one on Wang. There's another two I can remember. One happened in Europa last season.
Yeah,
just it's funny.
I love it. He's the one. For such a guy who's so dry on his interviews, when you watch him in a match, he literally is the funniest guy in terms of his mannerisms. Because you watch him, he's like, and he's barging into the goalkeeper. He's backing in on the goalkeeper, and the Porto game was hilarious because it was like a comedy antics in the in the penalty box each time we took a corner. It was Ben White getting absolutely shoved to the ground and him going, "What? You weren't me?" and all of this. I love him. I think he's never going to be your, "Oh yeah, we're going to give it 110% and we're going to win this game" and all this. He is, quiet, unassuming, but on the pitch, he will give 100%. I've never seen him not give 100%. I've never not, even when he's injured, I've never seen him down his level. He will still try. He knows his weaknesses, but he's been so good this season in terms of he's adapted his position. Arteta loves him for his intelligence. He's an intelligent footballer as well. He's adapted to the inverting role. We see it more and more now. He's adapted to the right back position, a roaming right back. Who thought that he would become the right back? One of the best right backs in the league. I didn't. I certainly didn't when he signed. I know he played it. I didn't think he'd be, the right back when he moved out to. I thought, oh, he's just a temporary placeholder for another dedicated right back. But he's made it his own. I'm so glad he signed the deal, and it's a long. And look, to counter the point on Tomiyasu's one, where it's a shorter deal. His one is to 2028 for a reason, because he is that good. He has been available. He has been a leader, and he's becoming more and more a leader. You hear it more and more. He's not a vocal leader. He's like, but he is, his attitude and his professionalism. Whether or not, whether he's the footballer's footballer, no. And I think we can talk about, we will talk about that. But he, for Arsenal, I've never seen him give anything less than 100%, and I can't speak highly of this deal. I think it's a fantastic deal. We knew it was coming, but to get it done just cements that he is in Arteta's game plan, and rightly so, because he's a fantastic player.
Yeah, one of my favourite players since he signed. At centre back and at right back as well. Brilliant to see Ben White signing his new contract, and a really interesting article. I can't actually find it at the moment.
Is it the Times one? The Times one?
The Times one. I think so. Where basically it said about how he, in the contract negotiations, he used stats and stuff like that. It might have been the Athletic. I'm not sure. I don't want to,
I think it
discredit.
was.
Yeah. But he used these kind of stats and stuff like that to back up his negotiations in contract negotiations. And I think that's fair enough. It's an interesting way to.
I think it
to hear about it being done. And go on.
The fact is that when you're in a job, normal everyday people, when they're in the job, you try to, when you're going for a promotion or a salary raise, etc., you will say, "This is what I've done. Here's what I've done for the company. This is how I've made it. Made myself an asset." What do you do as a football player? You've got your coaches, look on you. But then you've also got data as well now, and there's a raft of data. And obviously Ben White and a lot of players now have, contracted these data analytics people to view them. And it's interesting to see that the analytics spoke to Ben White being one of the top right backs not in just the league, in Europe. He could play for Man City, how he'd fit into Man City, into European clubs. He didn't want anyone else but Arsenal, but he wants to get what I tweeted out was undeniable data. And that's true. It's undeniable. If you say I can prove that Milan, Man City, etc., will be better with me, Arsenal would be fools to say we won't give you that extra 60 or whatever, how many thousands, because the data will tell you and we are database now. Most clubs are data driven. That we are, we've got one of the best right backs. He's not an atypical right back, but that's actually what we need. Arteta doesn't like atypical right backs. You see it already.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It is very interesting, and it was the Athletic, by the way, David Ornstein, who's tweeted out that article. Shout out to David, the GOAT. Really brilliant to see Ben White signing his new contract. Matt, I'm sure you'll echo that it's just, really, really good news for Arsenal. But I do want to ask you about these comments from Gareth to Southgate, and all the kind of the fallout that's come with it this week, because it's it's been everywhere, and there's some reaction that's gone round, which respectfully everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I was quite disappointed to see Harry Redknapp's view on it when he was on TalkSport the other day, saying about how, you know, he shouldn't be allowed to play for England again. And I've seen certain other people, you know, say kind of similar lines. And, you know, respectfully, of course, they're entitled to their opinion. But I just think, I don't know about you two. I'll ask you first, Matt. But when all the facts aren't necessarily on the table, I think it's not necessarily fair to pass that strong of a judgment in some ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think absolutely that. You know, you don't need to. I get, you know, as football fans or, you know, football fans are always, or people in general, trying to connect the dots from what they see, but you equally don't know. You know, you're making assumptions based on a manager's comments, not even based on, you know, the stuff which has come out in the last few days anyhow. You've got to wait for the information before you jump to accusations or jump to whatever, because, you know, accusing players, sorry, of professionalism in essence is a massive thing. You know, you coming at a player telling them they don't want to play for England or they don't care, when they've got social media posts as well stating, you know, how much of a dream it is, and interviews stating how much of a dream it is, and you're seeing a tiny bit of, you know, discourse, and you're instantly jumping to, oh, doesn't care, doesn't want to be there. It's a bit like, you know, as you say, Dan, everyone's allowed their opinion, but at the same time, make it measured and make it make sense. You know, back up your opinion, and if there isn't anything to back it up, then don't go too heavy, because it's just strange to speculate like that, especially on an importance like that.
I think as well, also the fact that Ben White is known at Arsenal for being one of the top pros, you know, one of the people that, you know, on and off the pitch, just, you know, is just so professional in what he does. Like you said, yeah, he gives 100% for the team and everything. You saw his reaction when he first made his England, you know, debut, the press conferences, the tweets. How, of course, the tweets you can't really necessarily, maybe you've got to take them with a pinch of salt, because some media teams consult them for players on their behalf. But you know, especially just seeing his reaction when he's been, you know, doing the press conference, and how, you know, he seems like he's in, you know, in the moment he's just in awe of being in the England setup. And I don't know. I just think that it's also with all the media reports that have come out. Again, you know, there could be something else that we don't know about in this situation. But with the media reports, a lot of people saying there has been an issue between Ben White and Steve Holland, and then Gareth Southgate to say there isn't an issue makes you go, well, someone's lying here. And again,
I think
you know,
the problem is, I think the problem is as well with media reports, not, you know, that they don't have credibility or anything like that, but I think I said this with transfer stuff. You've got to understand why it's being posted, because every piece of, you know, journalism or anything like that is posted for a purpose. It's not posted for a laugh. So, for example, The Athletic did a piece on Ben White in a very positive manner. That's clearly something which is, you know, down the club side and down Ben White's side. Whereas the reports we've seen the last few days, could that be from a Southgate side? So it's very hard to know what's true, what isn't true, what has what narrative behind it. And I think that's important as well before, you know, jumping to conclusions, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think the second, and again, not to wish any kind of downfall on Gareth Southgate, but this, you know, whenever he does leave the England national side, if Ben White then does come straight back in, that would very clearly, you know, I think say to me that there was an issue between Southgate and, you know, well, not necessarily Southgate, but Southgate and his team with Ben White. So it's an interesting situation. Yeah, there's the kind of narrative that have, you know, that's gone round on social media frustrated you too.
It's disappointed me, because I think there is a way to, you know, as Matt said, there is a way the England manager should be comporting himself within the media. But it seems like, you know, to me, Gareth Southgate is very much a manager who favors certain types of players and certain profiles, etc. I think that's been demonstrated in that he retains faith in a group of players who I think should not be in the England squad. Whether rightly or wrongly, if I'm right or wrong, doesn't matter. But the facts are, a lot of people agree certain players should not be in the squad, and he still retains faith, even though they're having poor club form or they're not available. And then obviously he you know, it seems like he has this kind of image of how a player should be, and his staff do. And if they don't conform to that, then obviously there's some issue. Now, Ben White, as you said, Dan, was very excited about his England debut, was raving about it, tweeting about it, etc. How could you not be? Something happened, obviously, in the Qatar World Cup that forced him to come home. I know the reason, and obviously, I think more people are starting to get more information. But the fact is no player is ever. We're not robots. We have emotions. We have, psyches, mental, mental complexities, etc. And Ben White is a complex character. There's no doubt of that. You can see it on the pitch. He's a warrior. In media, he's dry. At home, he's apparently very quiet, etc. But he's a funny guy. But obviously, some players do not travel well. And it may be that, the World Cup was a pressured environment, or maybe the atmosphere was not correct in terms of what Ben would think is positive. I also think as well that for a player of his ability, and this is just a personal thing as an Arsenal fan, was he really played enough? Was he given the respect of he's playing for a top side and he was given the chance? I don't think so. Again, you question if that's, again, the manager's favourability to certain players. Because Ben White, you'd be mad not to take him for anything. Versatile, 100%, and one of the best, better technical players. But yeah, he persists with certain other individuals, and again, that's his choice.
Potentially important to note as well, people spoke about I think it was Spain's success last year, or, an international tournament discontinuity. I think Saudi Arabia had a lot of their team playing for the same side. South Africa went pretty far in AFCON and had a lot of players playing in their side as well in the exact same league, or all players. And England have that, potential to emulate that Bukayo Saka, Ben White right hand side, which absolutely thrives for England. And obviously, I'm not, that's without Martin Odegaard and other aspects of that Arsenal side. And that's also, me not discrediting the variety of options England have. But especially, at least at this time, I'm happy it's not the case because, as we've spoken about the importance of keeping players fit for the run-in. But you've got, Trippier, who's, I'm not entirely sure how old, but probably coming, not towards the end, but 34.
Now.
International terms, probably coming closer to the end. Walker's similar. Trent's got an injury at the minute. So what better time? James as well is injured. So what better time than to try and replicate that dynamic in a country manner, especially against Brazil and Belgium. But
the thing is as well, he's the most versatile player. Left back, centre back, right back. Where else? There's very few of these kind of players around. Someone who can go into the midfield if needed. In a World Cup or in tournament situations, injuries, fitness, etc. What does every manager want? Versatility. Because things happen and you're not taking one of the most versatile players because you can't be on board with different people's approaches. Look, I get it. The manager has the final say, etc. But you've got to be a bit more, in the modern day and the modern era, you have to be a bit more nuanced in how you approach it. You cannot have this old mentality of you should be this kind of player. You fit this mold. You are a robot. Do this, do that, be this, be that. It doesn't work that way. You have the modern elite managers know how to are almost psychologists because they understand different players react to different things. Why do you think Ben White wanted to stay at Arsenal? Because Arteta has created an environment for him where he thrives and he knows what to do. Arteta loves him because he's got the intelligence to play how he wants him to. So clearly, the elite manager, and I'm sorry, I do not class Gareth Southgate as an elite manager. He managed Middlesbrough, big whoop to me, and he's managed to mismanage an England side with so much talent. It's who do I trust more, Arteta with his talent ID or Gareth Southgate? I think I know who and whose staff I would take. So look, it's sad that Ben White has not got more caps for England. I'm sure, as Matt said, if the regime changes and it's favourable, then Ben White will probably get more caps because he deserves it. He deserves to start in games as well. England centre backs are rarely available. The first choice, and you're talking about Harry Maguire, who has performed better, but he's still not exactly my first choice centre back. Would I prefer Ben White there? Probably would, because even then he's still better than Harry Maguire. But it is what it is. Look, I'm glad that he's getting the rest. Maybe he's gone to Dubai again, just to top up that tan for a little while, because it seems like it's a superpower. He comes back and
his next Instagram post or next social media post has to be just some kind of emoji, like a sun emoji, lying down by the beach in Dubai. That would be fantastic.
The fact is that it's good for us, but it's sad that that on the day of his contract renewal, and I know it was deliberate. On the day of his contract renewal, there was this unpalatable thing came out, and I know it was kind of preempted. And obviously, Ben White will be in the focus for this. I don't know how people react across the grounds. I hope they're a little bit more sympathetic and understand that in the modern day, people have different, mental approaches to different things, and not to get so bogged down by the whole England train, effectively, if you call it that. It's a shame he won't go to the Euros. I'm really sad that he won't, because he deserves to be there. But as an Arsenal fan, I'm very glad that he's going to be fit and available, because he's a key component of our side, and he should be a key component of England as well, to be honest.
Yeah, I think as well, just one other thing to quickly add is when you mentioned his versatility, I think the term versatility often gets thrown around, because there's a big difference between being good being a decent player in multiple positions and being a top player in multiple positions. And I think Ben White falls into that latter category. As you mentioned, his first season was brilliant as a centre-back. As a right-back, he's been absolutely flawless for us. And when he's inverted recently, he's looked brilliant. And, his development and his learning is his biggest trade and quality. So I think that's an important thing to bring up as well, how he's not just versatile, he's versatile in many different areas. So, yeah.
Yeah, his ability to learn his biggest strength, as said by Colas Cuesta, who I actually met, by the way, when I was fortunate enough to go to the training ground. Not to flex or anything, but
story time with Dan.
Well, yeah, no, really nice guy, and he seemed it in the documentary too. Shout out to nearly 1,500 of you tuned in. If you are watching, please do make sure to drop us a follow. If you are watching on Twitter, there's a link underneath this video to our YouTube channel. So please do make sure, if you can, click on that and then come over to YouTube, subscribe. Those kind of things do really make a big difference to us. So we really do appreciate all the support. And please do also comment down below what you think of the Ben White, Tomiyasu situation. Do you think that, maybe Gareth Southgate's in the wrong for calling out Ben White, kind of throwing him under the bus like that? Or do you think that, maybe Ben White has a duty to represent his country? I don't know. Let us know in the comments down below. We'll shout some of them out between now and the end. We're going to do some blind ranking in a second, but the absolute legend who is Rohan Javan has commented saying, outside of the starting 11, who do you boys think will be the most important player for Arsenal for the run-in? I will come to Yembele first.
If he's fit, and I say if, and it's a big if, Thomas Partey could be the biggest player. And again, the biggest caveat is if he's actually fit. Because when he's on form, he is one of the best midfielders in the league. When he was on form last year, he was undoubtedly one of the best. We were talking about Rodri levels. Him with Ben White, with Declan Rice, could absolutely dominate many teams. But again, it's his fitness. It's just purely his fitness. And he looks so off it when he came on in these games. I know he's been out for a long time. And if you look at, it's that kind of, will he, won't he, will he be available, etc. Will one little kick hurt him? It's like Tomiyasu's. His availability is so bad.
I mean, myself and Matt were making the joke in the Brentford game. We're saying a minute's passed and Thomas Partey hasn't gone down injured. Oh, I can't believe it.
Do you know what? A minute's gone past and Thomas Partey hasn't lost the ball. That's
Actually, that's not true. He came on and the first thing he did was kick the ball out of play, which I found quite amusing, not going to lie. But, honestly.
No, but the fact is, we know when he's not fit, he's not any good. He's no good. He literally is that. It's almost like he's lost his superpowers. It's when he's fit, he just looks a different beast. He's gliding through the midfield. He's breaking up plays, passing through the lines. We've loved Jorginho in the six because he's been breaking the lines. But the fact is that Jorginho's mobility is not very helpful, and obviously he has to stay back. But if you've got a Partey and Declan Rice at full tilt, that's a different kind of beast because both of them are mobile, strong, play through the lines, adaptable, can shoot, can make a pass. It's a different beast. But again, big caveat if it's available. But we've got so many options available, and obviously you guys probably have a favourite but for me, Thomas Partey probably.
I think I agree with you, to be honest, Yam. I think, for sure, Thomas Partey. I think Jurrien Timber will play a big role. I hope Jurrien Timber will play a big role.
The only problem I have with Jurrien Timber, sorry, Dan.
No, go for it.
Did you see that video of Tyrone Mings, his leg?
Oh, yeah.
The atrophy on that. Think about this. Timber's one was much worse. So to build himself out of that and then to get back to playing, I've always said this season, don't put any expectation on Jurrien Timber. Apparently he's back after the international break, which is fabulous news on a personal level for him. But don't put pressure on him to be this all singing, all dancing again. It's going to take such a long time for him to be back to his best. We're talking about an almost career-threatening injury that has mentally as well, the release to come back. Even the smallest step probably to come back into the team is a massive one. But if you can build him up slowly towards the latter games, if we get further into Champions League, etc., maybe then he'll start to become this, this force. But to put him into the kind of, as soon as he comes back, he's going to be amazing. I think that's really a lot of pressure. I don't think that's going to be the case.
And I think as well, I don't know if we'll see it, but I'll be interested to see if he maybe plays a few under 23s games before coming straight back into the team. If he hasn't been already, I haven't been following it personally, but
they're surely playing some behind the scenes games. They won't tell us.
Yeah,
I think Mikel's very clever now about, I'm not going to tell anyone how we're doing, etc. I think there's too many fan leaks, etc. So I know they're really carefully managing, but apparently the news on Jurrien Timber is, and Dan, you may know more, is that apparently his recovery has been nothing short of amazing, and how he's been reintegrating the squad, learning again. This is what Arteta likes. He likes intelligent players, and Jurrien Timber apparently is on that level as well.
He does seem it, and just physically, I mean, looking at him in training photos, not in a weird way at all, but he just looks, muscularly, very, he's very lean.
Matt will know this now. Matt with his videos and everything will know this now. He's the one
Matt loves it.
He's the one to talk about it. He's the definition.
What's he been working on? What's he been working on in the gym, Matt? Tell us from your experience. No, I'm joking.
I was about to say that is.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Matt does do gym content though. If you do want to follow him, at Matt J Sport for his serious journalism.
Yeah, you won't get any gym.
No. If you're lucky enough to follow him, then you'll see that he's an absolute gym goat. Matt, your answer as well, please, to Rohan's question: who you think will be Arsenal's most important player for the run-in?
Torn between two. And they're both different names. And one I actually thought could have had a big role to play against Porto, but didn't happen, and that's Fabio Vieira. And the other is Reece Nelson. And the reason I go for Reece Nelson, and I'll go with him first, is obviously, what he did in the not crunch moment, so to speak, but when we needed him last season. I think the thing with Reece Nelson all the time has been, he's come on, he's made a big difference. Why is he not playing more? I think we're going to be more or less forced to rotate our squad, and I think in the home games, so to speak, I think someone like Reece Nelson will be a really important part of our team. Having someone who, in my opinion, you can depend on as a starting winger. He's not going to start against Bayern or games like that, but someone who I'd hope would start or would feature against the likes of Luton, Bournemouth, potentially Aston Villa, etc. That type of game. In general, I think he's good enough to play a role in more or less any of the games we have left. And, obviously depends on Arteta.
Can I ask you a question, Matt? Why does Arteta not trust him?
This is the problem as well with it. The reason I've gone for Reece for this answer especially is because I think Arteta's going to be forced to somewhat trust him, because the run-in is big and, the fixture list is coming quickly. You've got to adapt and you've got to play players on your bench. And if you don't trust them, then they shouldn't be at the club, as I said, because then you're just wasting bench slots and you can't trust players. It's frustrating. But, it's a good question. And it does frustrate me as well because I don't really know the answer to it.
You could also add Emil Smith-Rowe, Eddie Nketiah to that same question.
Same vein as well. Why is he not trusted?
I wouldn't say that.
Emil Smith-Rowe, why doesn't he not trust him? Because in the Porto game as well, I thought Emil Smith-Rowe in the half spaces would be that kind of player that you would want to have. And it just seems like Emil did really, he didn't do bad against Forest for my money. I thought he looked pretty good. And then all of a sudden he just disappears again. It just feels like, I hate to say it, and I hate to say this, that if it's going to be, if we're going to sell players to make up PSR, which is unfortunately the reality of football, these are the players who are going to be going, aren't they? You're looking at the Emil Smith-Rowes, you're looking at the Eddie Nketiahs, you're looking at the Reece Nelsons, because they are youth players, and it's just sad because they have talent, as you said, Matt. Reece Nelson is a fabulous talent, but they're not. All
of them. All of them. Fantastic.
Eddie for me. Personally, Eddie, I think his time is coming to an end because I don't think he's at the level that we need. But ESR and Reece Nelson have still got. I think every time I see Reece Nelson, he gives us something. It's different. I think it just lacks consistency. I think he lacks. Again, that comes with game time. But the problem is when he has had game time, and I know why Arteta may be slightly hesitant, is that when he has played, he's lost. He gets injured. Same with Reece, with ESR. When he's played and done well, he gets injured. And again, durability, availability is your biggest strength. It's just unfortunate. But I'd be interested to know what everyone else thinks about their play. I want to see if it's a spread of different players who everyone gets, because everyone will have a different thought about who they want.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's an interesting one with Reece, as you mentioned. Arteta doesn't really seem to fully trust him. As I say, this kind of relies on Arteta having to play Reece Nelson, which I think will be the case. And for me, he should be our second option as a left winger, behind Gabriel Martinelli. The dynamics, and I guess he's almost been a Saka cover at times. To be fair, so is Fabio Vieira actually recently coming back from injury, but. On to Fabio Vieira. Vieira. Can't say his name, apparently. Fabio Vieira.
Fabio Vieira. Sorry, just saying it for you. Sorry, carry on.
Appreciate that. But I think, he offers a profile which we don't really have in the squad. And maybe when the team's not playing as well as it can, a player like that unlocks defences. He's a bit more... his ball striking's brilliant. He's potentially a bit more forward thinking than other players, would go for, a pass just like that, as opposed to keeping hold of the ball for longer. And he was a starter earlier on in the season, started at Goodison Park where we won 1-0, started against Spurs where he came off at half time.
That Man United game, he was a different level.
Oh, yeah.
He was, my word. I think that was his peak, until he got injured, didn't he? He was unreal in that game.
And yeah, as you say, injury, it's almost like a bit of a common thing between these players. So they're getting injuries and you've got to then just be really careful how you ease them back. And I think he is one, big part of that.
The problem is there's a big measuring stick in terms of availability in Saka. Saka has been available pretty much nigh on through his career. So young, but young players get soft tissue injuries, how we, and how they grow, how players grow. Some players don't work. Emil Smith-Rowe one was about his growing pains, effectively. As he started to grow out. But, everyone measures Saka as the yardstick because he's been available through everything. But no player is the same. Fabio Vieira is going to be different. These are young players. We're talking about Fabio Vieira is 22. He's not. They've still got a lot of development to do in terms of their physical attributes. So I like Fab. I think there is a player there. And I thought Fabio Vieira, when he came on recently, looked much more pacey for some reason.
Sheffield United, I think it was, away from home.
He paced their defence. I was like, hey, that's not him. Who's that?
It's an interesting point. Fabio Vieira is 23, by the way, same age as myself. Don't know if that's... Yeah.
How long have you been injured? You're injured as well at the moment, Dad, aren't you? So, this...
I still got my knee injury. Do you know what? I made a step today. I played my girlfriend at badminton and won, but my knee was okay. So Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate that. Shout out to 1.6k people tuned in. Please do follow us. Please do subscribe. Really appreciate the support on that front. Let's get to the main, all-important part of the show. Not
You've been looking forward to this for about an hour.
Yeah, we're gonna do. It's got to that all-important time of the show. I'm not Charlie Sloth. We're going to do blind ranking. We're going to do 1 to 5 particular subjects, and I'm going to get you guys to blind rank these subjects. Okay, one subject is Arsenal players this season, and it's all based on quality, ability, and your opinion on them. The first one is Arsenal players this season, which I'm going to give to Matt. And the second one is Emirates Stadium era midfielders, which I'm going to give to Yem. Okay. Are you ready? I'm going to start with Matt's one. And we'll go from there. Okay. So Matt, I don't promise actually. I'm going to try not to make you look stupid. I'll try. You know, if it happens, it happens. But we move. Okay. So
not
we're
prepared.
So for people that are unfamiliar, you've got the rankings 1 to 5. I will say a name to Matt, and he's got to put them on 1 to 5 without knowing who the next player is going to be. So the first category is Arsenal players this season. Okay, 1 to 5. Matt, the first player I'm giving you is Bukayo Saka.
The problem is, by the way, with this, in terms of the top 3, even if you give like the exact top 5, is the level of like Saka and Ødegaard has been... Saka, Ødegaard and Rice, has almost just been unparalleled by anyone else. And, you know, it's not like for me last season where Saka was a clear player of the year, although Ødegaard was probably second for me by a distance as well. But there's 3 contenders where it's like they really could go anywhere in that top 3. Sorry, I thought, I think you might have cut out, which is...
Oh, is that? Has he lost power? He's lost power. He's lost power. Here we go. So, Matt, this is your time to shine.
I mean, I'm only going to be able to name one, so I'm only going to be able to wax lyrical about.
Do you know it was Sod's law that it happened now? It happened right at the time.
Is the most brutal timing I think I've ever seen. It's good that it's not stopped. I didn't think it would, as it's live. But that timing, it couldn't just be like the 5th one at least, or brilliant.
We'll give him a minute. Should we give him a minute and let's see if he comes back? Let's see if he comes back.
Can do. I mean, we can wax lyrical about Bukayo Saka until that time, but I think that has been done a lot. But I mean, hopefully we don't see him play on Saturday night. I'm sure we will. The international break has, of course, brought back the classic people who like undermining certain players or bringing up random debates, which, for me personally, player comparisons and debates like that never really had a place in football or anything like that. But Bukayo Saka, I mean, for club, for country, the guy is just unbelievable, isn't he, really?
He is. Where would you put him then? 1 to 5.
I've got a long time to think about Bukayo Saka here. As I was literally about to say, with the top 3, it's so hard because you've got Saka, Rice, and Ødegaard are going to be your top 3, irrespective. I don't know who's on Dan's list. You know, he could have Nketiah there for all I know, or David Raya, etc., etc.
He's coming back in. He's coming back in. So the next person. Do you want me to give you the next person while we go? So go on. Put your number down. Go on.
All right. I'm going to have to go for. I can't not say number 1, can I? To be honest, Ooh. Yeah, I can't not, can I?
Number 1. That's interesting. Okay, and then the next name is William Saliba.
Oh, that's hard because I think it all depends who's on this list is the problem, because he could have Cole Hine in there and I put Saliba 4th, and then it's like, whoa, he's just better than Cole Hine, and it's like, no disrespect to Cole Hine if you're watching, you know, but probably not. I think a safe bet, I think number 3 is a safe bet because it's a blind ranking. You know, obviously such a top defender, but there are a few I'd have over him this season. Maybe Ben White, Gabriel, I think I'd have over him. Ødegaard, I'd have over him, and Declan Rice, I'd have over him. But equally, I presume Dan's list isn't going to be that set in stone, and there's going to be a few surprises. So we'll put.
So you've got 1 is Saka. So let's just make sure 1 is Saka.
Correct.
3 is Saliba. Okay. Next one, Gabriel Jesus.
Okay, I like that because if you said Rice or if you said Rice or Odegaard, then I'd be kind of screwed because if I put him 2, then there's 2 left. The other one could be 4 or 5, and it's like, well, not quite sure that's where they should be. This season, I think he's going to have to go 5, to be honest. I really like Gabriel Jesus. I really like what he offers, but I do worry he's lost that it factor about him. I do worry that knee injury is not the beginning of the end for him, so I don't want to be dramatic, but I also think that special aspect about him, that pre-World Cup Gabriel Jesus, amazing through players. He's still had some very good games, obviously. The penultimate goal where he sat down Dalot against Man United. The Forest game, I thought he was really, really good. He scored a great goal against Lens and was crucial in our group stage campaign in the Champions League. And no doubt he'll be a key part of the run-in should he stay fit. Obviously he'll manage his minutes, I'm sure, too. And he is still a really, really good player. But I think considering the players who Dan probably will be throwing, I do think he'll be 5. 4 is probably... it's either 4 or 5, isn't it, really? But I think 5 is the safe.
I think it's a safe bet. Do you know what the problem is? His availability again. It's your biggest strength is availability. We've said it a number of times. There's the man. Right.
Lads, I am so... I cannot believe it.
At the time, it was. Do you know what we said it? I don't know if you caught it, but we said it literally. It was inevitable that it would happen at the time when we were starting the list. But,
I can't believe it.
Just seconds.
Have you explained the context as to why I just disappeared?
No,
he had to go make a cup of tea, actually.
No, we were professionals. We went straight to the content. We didn't think about the personal circumstance. We went for the content.
Yeah, it was initially just like, should I guess up Bukayo Saka?
No. Wait, so where did you get to in the...
Right,
for everyone that doesn't know, I've been having power cuts all night, and we just happened to have one just then, which was... Hopefully it doesn't happen again, or it's rather embarrassing. I'm glad the stream stayed up.
Definitely know. The look that you left us with was like this.
I saw the light initially, and then I was like... Hold on a sec, that's not good news. The worst timing.
I couldn't believe it. Where did you get to in the list, please, Matt?
I've done 3 players so far, actually.
Okay. So
I've done 2 players. Wait,
so you've done 3. You've come to your third right now.
So can you tell me one sec as I threw everything over there when the power went off? So let me just get my notepad real quick.
This is not going well at the moment.
No, it's not. In my 2022 diary, I'm going to write down Matt's list. I just have a random empty 2022 diary, if you were wondering. But let's go. So sorry, Matt. Who have you gone for so far? Can you just please enlighten me as to who and where you put them?
Of course. So number 1 is Bukayo Saka. He's the first man thrown on the list, and what the Nando's collab as well recently. It had to go number 1, didn't it?
I love the advert. I loved his advert as well. That was actually pretty good.
Brilliant. It was very cool. But Matt, please, no more stalling. Let's keep going. The power could go again at any second, and I want to get. Right, I want to finish the stream. Sorry, say again. Sorry.
I just said speed run. Okay. But number 3 is Saliba, and safe bet, I think. And then number 5 is Gabriel Jesus.
Cool. Gabriel.
I'm calling that Cole Hine is going to be the 5th one, by the way. Just
no, it's not Cole Hine. So we've gone for Saka in 1, Saliba 3, Jesus number 3. So you've still got 2 and 4 left open. Your next player is Declan Rice.
2, banking on the fact that Odegaard's not there, because if Odegaard's left, then number 4. What can you do? You know what I mean? But Declan Rice. 2nd, what he's done for us, he's such an instrumental part of the side.
What Matt's gone with so far is Saka 1, Rice 2, Saliba 3, Jesus 5. We will up the budget and try and sort some sort of software where we can digitally show you this in the future rather than on my 2022 calendar, but that's that at the moment. So your remaining spot is number 4, Matt, and the final player I'm going to give you, Cedric Suarez.
I knew it was going to be someone like that, so...
In your opinion, I'm happy with my list. What you're saying, in your opinion, Cedric Suarez has had more of an impact this season than Gabriel Jesus. Interesting, noted. Let's move on to the next one. No. I mean that's the whole thing of the blind.
I'm happy with that list. I'm very happy with that list.
It's not awful. It could have been a lot worse, but yeah. There we go. Let's get yours in, which is Emirates Stadium era midfielders. Okay.
This is so wide ranging. You're literally gonna kill me, because if I go for the it touches upon almost the Invincible era as well of players, and that's
there is one that crosses over from Highbury to.
I knew it. I knew you'd do this to me.
But don't worry. I promise you that I didn't make the promise to Matt because I like to laugh. But with your one, I promise there's no actual catching out, and there's no catching out with this one.
Kim Kallstrom.
No, there's no one like that.
Kim Kallstrom's number one. What are you talking about?
Right.
Kim Kallstrom's number one.
Emirates Stadium midfielders. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Number 1, Aaron Ramsey.
The Emirates era, I'm going to put him as number 2.
Number 2.
He was really defining, in terms of his goals. That season where he scored 16, he was untouchable, and the FA Cup, he won us the FA Cups, number 2. I'll go number 2.
Interesting.
That could go back in my face very quickly.
I'm not going to say anything. Next one, Santi Cazorla. The look of regret.
He's not one. There's
face.
problems.
The look of regret on his face. I did think you might have gone a little bit too high for Aaron Ramsey, but respect to Ramsey. No, just go on.
Do you know, I'll put Santi. Look, I hate it, but I'll put Santi as 3 because Santi.
See you later. It's been a pleasure.
I can't put him as number 1 because then I might be losing out on one of the best midfielders.
So at the moment, Yem's list is looking like this. We've got Aaron Ramsey 2, Santi
My
Cazorla
reputation
3.
is falling. My small reputation is failing as we speak right now. No, but Santi, I'll go Santi. Yes, go on.
Nice. Next one, Jack Wilshere.
5.
5.
Only because it was cut short. Talent alone, he could have been number 1 if he'd been available and if he had a long career.
Jack Wilshere, what a man! Another person I've been fortunate enough to meet at Dave Seeger's Arsenal for Everyone book launch. If you don't know already, make sure to check out that book. Dave's done a number of good books. So you've got 2 positions left. You've got 1 and 4 left. That's what your list is looking like. The next, so you've gone Ramsey 2, Santi Cazorla 3, Jack Wilshere 5. So you've got 1 and 4 left. The next midfielder I'm going to give you is Martin Odegaard.
I'm going to put him as number 1, actually.
Number 1, wow.
I accept Santi Cazorla 3 now.
Because, you know what? My captain is a different level now. He is performing different levels, and as a captain as well. The Porto penalty was just encapsulated him. Didn't hesitate. Number 1, stick me in. Bang, top bins. Let's get going. And then number 1, yeah.
Number one. So you've got number 4 left. The fourth.
You're going to pull out El Nini, aren't you?
The fourth midfielder that I'm going to give you, in Emirates era midfielders. This is technically an Emirates era midfielder, but maybe might not be. But I'm going to give you, my childhood hero, Cesc Fabregas.
Oh, 4 is fine because he betrayed us. Fabulous player, but betrayal drops you right down the rankings. And the betrayal that he did, because Faisal will hate me anyway because he loves Cesc.
Yeah.
But the way Cesc betrayed us, flirting with Barcelona like he did, could have done it better. No, sorry, 4 is absolutely fine.
So you're happy with that list. So just for people, you've gone for Martin Odegaard.
No, I would put Jack Wilshere. I would put Jack Wilshere above Cesc.
Yeah. Okay. So you've gone for Martin Odegaard, Aaron Ramsey, Santi Cazorla, Cesc Fabregas, and Jack Wilshere. Are you fairly happy with that?
Yeah, because do you know what? Cesc is a traitor. Don't care what. He's a fabulous player, but he's a traitor.
Yeah.
At least
someone here's
Ramsey cried. Ramsey left, but Ramsey was crying because he couldn't get the contract. He wanted to stay, so he was crying. Jack Wilshere would have become a legend if he'd actually stayed, because if he could be fit. Martin Odegaard is becoming a legend because of who he is, and Santi Cazorla is a legend. And also he wants to. Santi Cazorla is so desperate to come back to Arsenal in whatever capacity, But do we hear that from Cesc?
No. There you go.
Don't worry about your reputation, by the way, for Aaron Ramsey number 2, because Sash will be be on there to back you
Oh
up.
yeah, Sash will be saying you should be number one. I mean, out of those midfielders, I think Santi Cazorla. I mean, I can get behind Aaron Ramsey number one. Martin Odegaard, by the time he's finished his career, could very easily be number one if he continues on the trajectory he's going on. But I mean, ability-wise, Santi Cazorla was an incredible midfielder. Another player who's just that really, really tough. What was it? And was it an Achilles injury he had in the end that just
Did we nearly lose his leg or something?
He had a graft. He had a graft from like part of his arm or something.
It's just sad that he couldn't even say goodbye to the Emirates fans because everyone loved him and he deserved just a send off. The fact is that each of these players, apart from obviously Martin Odegaard, who's obviously playing right now, Jack Wilshere could have been an absolutely stunning midfielder for years if his injuries didn't take him, curtail his career. Santi Cazorla, injuries again. Ramsey, if he hadn't been so injured so much and had been consistent as well, he could have been banging 16 goals per season. He had a fabulous season and he won us FA Cups. But Cesc Fabregas was a fabulously technical player. Loved him, loved what he did. But again, I can't stomach the way that he exited because it's not the right way you do it. If you want to, cement yourself as a legend, and he was a legend in terms of his playing, but not the way he left us. I can't stomach it.
Well, I don't want to end the stream on a downer like that, but it's a bit of fun. But no,
was it downer? Martin Odegaard's number one. Martin number one, baby.
Oh man, yeah, no, but yeah, Cesc divides opinion to this day. First player I actually got on the back of my first Arsenal shirt was Cesc Fabregas. Broke my heart.
I think we all loved Cesc when he came. When he emerged properly. For a couple of seasons, he was the man. It's just, again, I can't palate. It's like Van Persie. Van Persie, we can all agree, is a fabulous player. What a D.
Don't worry, I think I put Sonogo over him when we did the first rankings.
Hey, look, Yaya Sonogo's a legend. What a boy. What a player.
No, I mean, you could put Sami and Nasri in the same kind of category. Not as Yaya Sonogo, but as in of Van Persie and Fabregas. But
Sami and Nasri drops right down to number 5, down.
Even below there, because he didn't even have that same, not same talent, so to speak, as Cesc, but what Cesc went on to do in terms of obviously the level he was at Barca and continued to have throughout his career compared to Nasri, where it's like he was a good player at City. But
yeah, interesting. Boys, it's been a pleasure. 1,796 people watching. Shout out to all of you legends. Really appreciate you being there. If you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, there's a link below the tweets that you're watching on at the moment. If you can, drop a subscribe. Any of you that are able to do that would mean a massive help to us. We're doing more streams like this, more legends like Yembele, although, it's hard to top his quality standards and,
why do you think he comes back
brings
all the time?
every week. Because he's a legend. There you go, 1,800 people watching. Mental. Thank you so much to everyone tuned in. We will preview it in another video because the international break is long with a capital L. But Manchester City to come. Really excited for that one. You're not going with Faisal, are you, or are you just gonna?
Have you heard what Faisal's doing?
Is he flying back from his holiday early?
Faisal's leaving today. Faisal's leaving right now. He's on the plane right now.
Oh, wow.
He is flying into Manchester. He's flying into Manchester to go to the game, and Walid is going to pick him up. Honestly, he literally planned. He got a ticket for because you do a return journey, it's usually cheaper back to the same airport. He literally detoured his thing to Manchester just so that he could uphold his reputation. If we lose that game,
it's Faisal's fault.
Oh, it's always Faisal's fault. Look, this is a standard thing. I think we all know this. Old Trafford. Yes.
Yeah.
City. Yes. But again, we'll preview it. But the City game, I'm looking forward to actually because it's fine. If we can get a clean bill of health, we're finally coming to a point where we are on an equal footing with City. And I don't say that from pure arrogance or something like that. I genuinely believe on the form this season, we are as close as we're going to get.
Yeah, no, I agree. Really looking forward to it. We will preview that game. Really looking forward to that one. Keshi said that if we lose, Faisal shouldn't be allowed to leave London at this point. Shout out to Faisal though. What a man.
Anyone at Emirates, if you want to keep that sponsorship, make sure the sponsorship, because he's flying Emirates. Just on the plane. Sorry, Mr. Khan, your ticket's been denied.
Oh no!
Faisal Khan, Emirates. Faisal Khan. Just remember that name, Faisal Khan. At the gate. What to do?
Well, if you're watching Faisal, I hope you have a lovely holiday. And fingers crossed, Arsenal can get the job done at the Etihad. What an incredible moment that would be. I'm hoping to. I don't know if we've got plans, but I'm hoping to maybe come up to North London for that game, just to get together with a few of the the gang to watch the game in the pub, something like that.
I actually might be up north at that point. So Faisal did offer me a ticket, and I said no because I didn't think I was going to be able. And now I'm regret because I'm going to probably be at my in-laws, which is like 45 minutes away from the City ground.
Oh man,
wow,
man, that's tough. The chances will come again. Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh no, I've been to I've seen us lose 5-1, but I was sitting in the Man City box and I enjoyed the food immensely. We were losing 5-1. We were losing 5-1, but man, the food was par excellence.
Oh, nice one, man. Well, hopefully, myself or Matt get lucky in the ballot for the Bayern game, and it will be great to see you at the Emirates as always, because you've taken a little break from the game. So I've been to 2, and you've not been there, and it's been hard.
I know. We're gonna have to. We will. Do you know what? We will by end of season. We will meet again, my friend. We will meet again.
We.
I haven't met Matt. Do you know what? Me and Matt have not met yet. We've been at games, and he has.
Have you not
met?
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 2 games you've not been at.
I don't.
Damn, you already went there.
Life has got in the way. Life has got in the way of.
I mean, you said the same thing there. But so it will happen for sure.
It will happen.
It is all good. We will go to
Wembley. Do you know what? You know where it's going to happen. Wembley, Champions League final. Boom.
Wow.
Boom. We all know it.
Do you know, I'd go to Wembley, and if Arsenal got to the Champions League final, I'd go to Wembley with or without a ticket. I'd soak it in the atmosphere from a bar, something like that. You've got to be in the vicinity of Wembley
it's our stadium. What are we talking about? We own the stadium, so why are we?
Or to be honest, I'm sure if Arsenal did make the Champions League final, not to jump the gun at all, because not to jump the gun at all. But if Arsenal did make the Champions League final, they'd probably do a screening at the Emirates, wouldn't they? So,
don't worry, we're gonna try. If we get there, we're gonna try some stuff.
Hopefully, I'll see you before then, because there's a long way to go, and beating Bayern.
That would be special. That would be a special night.
This is what I love about the Champions League and the opportunity which is going to come with it. Special nights in Europe. Really excited for it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'm aware it's late, 10:30. I'm sure lots of you have got to scoot off for work tomorrow, but Yembele is at Verge 59 if you want to follow him. Lots of great tweets and content. And Matt, which of your 17 accounts are you promoting today?
You make the same catchphrase every time. We'll go this one. That's why it's been changed.
At Matt J Sport, there you go. Thank you so much to everyone tuning in. Really appreciate you being there tonight. No more power cuts, which has been good, for us. Hopefully, I don't jinx it and we get one now before we even close off. But thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Please do drop us a follow. There's a link below to subscribe to us on YouTube if you're watching on Twitter. Please do follow us over there. We've got a Twitter account at AFC Newsday too. Really appreciate any support. But yeah, international break. We'll be back to preview the Manchester City game. Huge game. Really looking forward to that one. But until then, we will catch you next time. Take care, everyone. See you in a bit.